So on the bottom of Chakim Lamed Beis, and the Gemara is talking about the case of a person who married one of two sisters. Now I'll try to get it on the screen again. Okay. So we had this diagram yesterday, more or less, a little bit different than yesterday, but that's the point over here. A man married one of two women, one of two sisters, the red man. He married one of the green sisters over here, but he doesn't know which one it is. So he can't marry either one of them because he might be marrying his wife's sister. He doesn't know which one it is. So one is his wife, one is his wife's sister. He can't marry either one of them. He gives both of them a get. If he died, so it says if he has one brother, that one brother has to give both of them chalitza for the same reason, because he doesn't know which is his yevamo, which is a chos kukaso. That was yesterday's Gemara. They did say yesterday that if he has two brothers, then one could do chalitza to one of them, and the other one could do yibum to the other one. Because even though you don't know which one, maybe this, how could he do yibum? Maybe it's a chos kukaso. Maybe this is the one who's the real wife, and she's the skuka. And now this is going to be marrying the sister of his chos kukaso. The answer was because once the other brother did chalitza, so that zika is taken care of, and now it's not anymore chos kukaso because that woman is not anymore skuka to him. That was yesterday's Gemara. The Gemara is going to ask a question now to this following case. We'll just put the case and then we'll see it inside. 4 brothers, 2 of them married to 2 sisters, and those married to the sisters died. What's the halacha about yibum? Anybody? Suggestion? So either one cannot marry either one of them. Why? Because achos kukosa. Since both of them are kuka to both of them, both of these women are supposed to get, because 2 different husbands. It's not the same case as before that a suffix which one he married. We know what happened exactly. But since 2 brothers died, both of their wives are now obligated to yibum. So neither brother can marry either one of them because he's going to be marrying a achos kukosa. The Masakasha, what's the problem? Why doesn't one do chalitza? And then the other one should be able to do yibum. If you say that after the chalitza, so then the zika is off, so then it's not anymore achos kukosa. The same way we said over here, that one brother could do chalitza, another one could do yibum because the zika is off. It's not anymore achos kukosa. Here also, what should be the problem? That's the Gemara's kasha. To see that inside. Mashna, one line up from the bottom. I had it all highlighted, but I had to take it off because of that technical mistake. So we'll just do it without any highlighting. There's a Mishnah. Mishnah, what is done? Why is our case different than the Mishnah that says later on? There were 4 brothers, 2 of them married sisters, and the ones who married the sisters died. The remaining, those 2 widows have to get chalitza from both brothers, from either one of the brothers, but both of them have to have chalitza. And we don't say that one could do chalitza and then the other one could do yibum. Why not? If you say that zika, the chalitza takes away the zika, the same way we did a second ago in our Mishnah, so over there also should be the same thing. So we'll do the answer first, and then we'll see it inside in the Gemara. The answer that the Gemara is going to say is that's very different. Over here, the sister is also a yevama. True? In this case, only one of them. We don't know which one it is. One is a chos kukosa, but only one of them. We don't know which one it is. So you have a problem. So if you did chalitza, even if she was the real yevama, this is only her sister, and the sister, no reason why I can't marry her because the zika is off. But over here, the Gemara is going to say that since she's also a yevama, she's also both of them fall into yibum. So if there was a time that she wasn't allowed to do yibum because she was a chos kukosa, besides being also a yevama, she's also a chos kukosa because in this case 2 brothers married 2 sisters. So at one point she was a brother's wife that's also to marry. For whatever reasons, it wasn't allowed to marry her. The Gemara is going to say 2 possible reasons why he's not allowed to marry her. Whatever the reason is, at this point, he wasn't allowed to marry her because it was a brother's wife who is not allowed to marry. What's the reason? Because it was a chos kukosa. Even if that goes off, it still remains that it's asa forever because it was a brother's wife that became asa. Once a brother's wife becomes asa, so then it doesn't go off. Even if the achos kukosa could go off, that's true. But it's still going to be a brother's wife who was asa to him. That stays forever. But in the case before, we're talking about it's not a yevama. Only one of them is. And if only problem is that this, let's say this one is the chiddush over here. She's allowed to marry him. That's because maybe the sister was the yevama. If she's the yevama, everything's great. If she's the real one, he took her. That's wonderful. That's the real. What's supposed to happen. The other thing is the b'teilim, that he gave her chalitza to the sister. That's nothing. But the problem is that maybe she's the real wife and she's the sister of the wife. Okay, so once he did the chalitza, so then she's taken care of. Or even b'diavad, if he did that also, that zika is taken care of, and now he's allowed to marry her because there's no other issue besides achos kukaso, and that's taken off. But over here, at the time they were achos kukaso, it was also the brother's wife that remains, and now it's going to be a brother's wife without that wasn't mutter. That issue remains forever. That's the Gemara's teretz. We'll see it inside. The Gemara is going to be a little bit more elaborate about what I said, but here's the Gemara's answer. What's the comparison? Top of Chav Daled. Hasam ilam adama yezika. Ilam adama also levatel mitzvahs yevamin. Also levatel mitzvahs yevamin. Rashi says that the Gemara is saying two reasons why it was usher to marry her at the time when she was a chos kukasa. Either because the yezika is going to say a chos kukasa, that there's such a thing, is such a problem of a chos kukasa, and even if not, there's also levatel mitzvahs yevamin. It means that you're not allowed to do something which is going to stop the possibility of doing yibum. Whatever the reason is, he wasn't allowed to marry her. That's all the Gemara wants. So since it was a time he wasn't allowed to marry her, that stays forever. And he's never allowed to marry, even after the zika goes off. But the words are a little extra than what I means more than I explained. The Gemara says maybe he got the right one. The Pashas, the Gemara doesn't need that. The Gemara does say that since the zika went off, it's mutter because even if it was the wrong one, the Gemara even throws in maybe he's getting the right one to make it a little more even easier. Maybe he's getting the right one. But the Pashas is the way we said it, the way we presented it, that the difference over there was that besides being a chos kukasa, it's also yevama. So at that time that she was usher to marry, it's a brother's wife which is usher to marry, and that stays forever. But over here, it's not. It's a suffix we married, so it's not there's no tzad that it's going to be a brother's wife that became usher at one time. That's why it's mutter. Let's go a little diagram for the next Gemara. Okay, thank you.
I'll stop by in case.
Thank you. Sorry for bothering you. And the next case now. We had this case yesterday. I made it a little bit more colorful, maybe to make it easier to understand. There were the two sisters, and one of them was married. Both of them were married to two men. We don't know which one married which. This is yesterday's Gemara. Here I made it a little bit different colors than yesterday. But here you have the red man, you have the blue man, and we don't know which one of them the red man married, which one the blue man married. Both of them are married. We don't know which one. So that's the whole problem. We don't know who you married. So both of them have to give gittin, and if they die, both of them have to get chalitza. That was the whole problem we had. The Mishnah spoke about a case where each one had two brothers. Each one of the two fakers they died, but each one had two brothers. So the Mishnah said that what should you do? That they could get yibum. Each family has to offer a chalitza, and that one that got chalitza can also do yibum to the other family. Here's the case that this brother has two brothers. This dead brother has two brothers, so he should give chalitza to one of them, and the other one will be able to do yibum after the other one gives chalitza. It means one brother from one family will give chalitza to one of the women, and one member of the other family will give chalitza to the other woman. And now the other remaining brother of each family can do yibum because if mitzad his side it was taken care of because the chalitza is not a chos kukas anymore, and it's not a question of yevama l'shuk because it might be the other family took care, gave chalitza already. So then this after both of them received chalitza from one of the families, the other family can do yibum to them. That was the Mishnah yesterday. The Mishnah continued to this case that one of the Eved, one family, both of them did chalitza. So it said the other family should not do both of them yibum because they still have the same problem that they don't know which one they married. It's going to be achos kukasa since they're not sure. Just because both of them got chalitza from the same family, but that doesn't mean that it's not achos kukasa. In this case, let's say we would be choshish that they can't marry these women because maybe that's a chos kukasa. Maybe this is the real wife, this is the real yevama, and if he takes her, he'll be taking a chos kukasa. So that was the Mishnah says, don't do two marriages just because they did two chalitzas. One chalitza from you, one chalitza from you, one marriage from you, one marriage from you. But the Mishnah did end off that if they did do yibum, why is that? Because even though there's a problem of a chos kukasa, but just like chalitza breaks the zika, So Yibum also breaks the Zika from the brother. Means he did Yibum. Maybe he shouldn't have done this Yibum. Maybe this is a Chos Kukasa. Okay, but he did it. If he did it, so then the Zika of this woman is off to the other brother. And therefore the other brother could marry the other one because it's not a Chos Kukasa anymore. That was the Mishnah. Lachatchila du chalitza, because that's the way to stay safe, because he shouldn't take a chos kukasa. But if the Eved, both brothers did, or one of the brothers did do yibum, both both brothers did yibum. So then they can stay married because his wife is not anymore a chos kukasa because the skukah was taken care of by the yibum that other brother did. Even though he did wrong. He did wrong. Temporarily, it might have been a problem, but once the other brother does yibum also, so it takes off the zika and they can stay married.
Can I ask a question, please?
Yes, please.
Yeah, on that blue one that did Yibum, and let's say that woman on the right is really the Achos.
Yes. So he's right now he's married to Achos Kukoso. Not good.
That means that then she was married to the red man, correct?
She was
married to the man in the red.
If this is Achos Kukoso, that means she was really married here, right? But they got chalitza.
One of those. Now, so let's say if she was married to one of those, and if he did Yibum first, the blue man did Yibum first, then she wasn't released.
Right. She was yevamos l'shuk. Yes. We're talking about that they did chalitza first. The red did chalitza first to both of them. So she's released.
We talk about that the chalitza has to be first.
She's released from the red, but now the blue amongst themselves, they don't know because each one might be Achos Kukoso. So
but we do assume that the chalitza always has to come first.
Yes, the chalitza of the other side, and also he should have one of them should have done chalitza, and the other one could have done yibum, because once one of them did chalitza, the other one is not going to be a chos kukos anymore. But if he messed it up and he did yibum, and the other one also did yibum, so then they can stay married because they don't have a chos kukos anymore because the sister is already taken care of. That's the Mishnah. So far, it's good. Anybody? Everybody? Everything's good. So now the question is, what if this family, the blue, is a family of Kohanim? What if they're Kohanim? A Kohen is not allowed to marry a Grusha, a Kohen is not allowed to marry a Chalutza. And if he's going to marry her, there's each one. We look at each one. How could you marry her? Maybe she got Chalitza. Maybe this one, let's say, for instance, maybe she was really married to the red, and the Chalitza that the brother gave her is a good Chalitza, was a real Chalitza, and now you're marrying a Chalutza.
Maybe Safek
Chalutza. Each one has a Safek Chalutza. Maybe
not. So they maybe not Makir.
That's the question. Why not? Why should not marry?
Because right, you take a system.
Why?
Because the mitzvah yibum stands strong against the Safek.
We don't. I think the Gemara is going to say b'deal. We'll see the Gemara's answer right away. But you're heading in the Gemara's direction. But the Gemara's question is that each one is a Safek Chalutza. Means each one we don't know if the Chalitza that the woman got was a real Chalitza. Maybe it wasn't. Each brother. We look at the other brother also. How do you marry her? Maybe she was the one who was married to the red, and she got a chalitza, and now you're taking a chalutza. So that's the question. That's the most question.
Could it be that the mitzvah of yibum is greater than the suffix chalutza?
But that's what Chaim David was suggesting. I don't think the Gemara is going to say that. Let's see the Gemara inside. If they shouldn't have both in yibum, but if they did, so then you don't make them divorce that last they married. Tani Sheila said over a brisa, even if that family is Kohanim, still they're allowed to remain. My timer, chalutza rabbanani. This chalutza is only rabbanan. The suffix chalutza lagazav rabbanan. And since it's a suffix chalutza, they were not goes there. I think the point is not goes there to take her out. Means lachatchila, we're not going to allow it. I think. Rashi on this suffix chalutza. Rashi says that they didn't make a gzera to take her out. It means they're not going to make her get divorced now. That we wouldn't have allowed it anyway, lachatchila, because we say that they should marry the other one. Each one should marry the other one. But if they did, so then on this Safek Chalutza, we're not going to make them get divorced. But the Gemara is very surprised. The Chalutza is only Rabbanan. The Isser for going to marry Chalutza is Rabbanan. The Safek Chalutza Rabbanan, Yivatanya Grusha, Ein Yala Grusha, Chalutza Minayin, Tam Lama Bisha. The Gemara says, Josh, Bisha, Grusha, Meisha, Lo Ikachu. That a Kohen is not allowed to take a woman who's divorced. And there's extra word over there. I could have said, Grusha Meisha Lo Ikachu. It says, Visha Grusha Meisha Lo Ikachu. Extra word Visha. You don't have the Chalutza, so it sounds like it's the Raisa. The Gemara says, no, it's not a serious drasha. But Rabbananu across Machtav Alma, it's only Asmachta. It's not the Grusha is Asma the Raisa, the divorced woman It's also if we're going to marry her midaraisa, but a chalutza is only a rabbanan, like Xera Atu a Gerusha. It looks like a gerushin, but it's only rabbanan, and therefore here that it's a suffix. They didn't make her get divorced. So even if they'd be kohanim, they'd be allowed to stay. They'd allowed to remain married. If that's good.
The chalitza is the to do chalitza is deraisa, but the isser of a Kohen to marry a chalitza is only derabanan. That what we're saying?
Right, correct. Again, just to make sure this picture we had over here, the things we tell them they are supposed to do. This is over here. They would over here. There's no issue to marry. Is there any issue over here in this picture? The way we tell them to do it, we say each one to do chalitza to the other one, and then the other brother could marry. That would even maybe the Gemara is going even on this case. Not only the case where they messed it up. I'm not sure. Even in the case we tell them lachatchila to do it, not only that you shouldn't get divorced. How could he marry? Maybe this. How if they're kohanim, are they allowed to marry? I said in the case of kadmu v'kansu, but it could be even in this case where we tell them what they're supposed to do. One is supposed to give chalitza from each one, and then the other one can marry the other one. The way Rashi sounds is like where we say if they're kohanim, they're not allowed to, because maybe it's a chalitza. But a safek chalitza, b'di'evet, if he married her, we don't make her get a divorce. That's how Rashi sounds, but I'm not sure. The Gemara alone, you might even learn that it's going on in the case of lachatchila, that since it's only a safek grusha, maybe you'd be allowed to marry her. And the Gemara, I can't tell. Rashi seems to say only b'di'evet. If he married, he doesn't have divorce. Okay.
Let me answer this question that chalutza is the rice.
We answered that it's the rabbanan, and even though it brings a pasuk, it's not a real drasha. It's only an asmachta. The word visha, even though it sounds like it's the rice from the drasha, it's not. You can't tell from a drasha if it's the rice or not, because many times it's not going to be an asmachta.
Asmachta meaning
that it's a remez. It's only a remez for the rabbanan. It doesn't mean that it's a real drasha. Okay, a little. Now the Gemara is going to be regular Gemara, so to speak, not with all the cheshbonos. It's not going to be calculations. But maybe easier.
If a Kohen marries a chalutza, the
Yes.
child's a cholova, right?
It's going to be a cholom rabbanan. The way we're saying now that it's not a deraisa, so it's going to be a cholom rabbanan.
So he's also to become a mace or to marry a.
No, because on the rice or not. The rice is not a chol. He's a real Kohen with the rice. So you'd have to see he's not allowed to be metame.
So he has also he's still with the condom.
I think so. I would think so.
How is his children going to remember that?
To remember 4 generations that there are suffolk cholol, not a suffolk cholol, a cholol rabbanan. Okay, I hear. I didn't think about it.
Keep a lot of yichus, no?
Okay, they should know that they're cholol rabbanan.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Safek cholol midrabanan.
So in the case where it was a Revadai, in the case would have been, I think that the fine was talking about a Badai case, that somebody married a Chalutza. That case also would be, you're right. In our case, it's going to be a suffix, and it could be that maybe it's going to be mutter, since suffix Rabbanan. But in case where Kohen married a Chalutza, so the kid is going to what? I think. Okay, Mishnah. Mitzvah b'gadol liyabim v'im kadam akatan tzachad. The mitzvah is for the oldest one of the brothers. They have a man dies without children. He has a few brothers. The mitzvah is for the oldest one to do the yibum and kadam akatan tzachad. But if a younger brother preceded him, so he keeps his wife. It's not going to be that you weren't allowed to do it. It goes with going to the age. The chatchila we give it to the oldest brother, and if not, but even if not, the katan also could have taken yibum. We're talking about yibum. We're not chalitza. We'll get to chalitza eventually. But first we approach the oldest, and if a younger one preceded him and married, so it's a good yibum. Tan Rabbanan. Just get a little bit highlighting over here for the psukim. Vaya b'chor, asher teiled, yakum al shem achiv, hames, velo yimoche shemo meYisrael. So this is the pasuk, and the pasuk, simple reading of the pasuk would sound that the firstborn that the brother married does yibum, and the firstborn that's born to them, to this new couple, the brother-in-law that married his sister-in-law, the first one that's born should stand on the name of the one that was deceased, and the name of that deceased brother should not be erased. That's pashut on the pasuk, but the Gemara says don't read the pashut pshat. It doesn't mean that. Vaya b'chor, that means that the oldest brother, not talking about the one that's going to be born, not the one that's born from this new marriage, but the firstborn of the brothers. Mitzvah mikanche mitzvah b'gadol yibum. And the mitzvah is on the oldest one of the brothers, not after the firstborn, but the oldest of the brothers to do yibum. Asher teiled is also not talking about the child that's born, that the widow, only if she is able to have children. If she's an islandess, if she's sterile, she can't have children, so then there's no mitzvah of yibum, because the whole purpose is he should have children. What does it mean that the brother who does yibum, the son? I mean, till now we learned the Pashup Shad is that the son who's going to be born is going to be in the name of the father of his original, of his uncle, whatever. But it was the one who died. But the Gemara says no. That the brother who does yibum gets the inheritance of that brother. It means usually when a brother dies, so who gets the inheritance? If he has children. If he doesn't, it goes to the father. If not, it goes to the brothers. But over here, the one he doesn't have any children, and it doesn't go to the father, it doesn't go to the brothers, it goes to him. The one who does yibum gets the Yerusha, of which Yerusha for every Yashning. Could be if it's the father died, or the brother himself has a nachla. Who gets the nachla? Who gets the nachla of that dead brother? The one who does yibum.
Oh,
the one who does yibum.
Financial benefit.
Is that also? He gets the wife, and he's doing a mitzvah to take the wife and have children, and he gets the Yerusha of that brother. Is that true? Yosef, Koronosa Yosef, Yochanan, Koronosa Yochanan. The simple shot in the pasuk is that the child that's born should get the same name. That's how everyone simple shot. That's what the pasuk seems to say. What?
Oh, that's the whole Yanachala that you take.
No. Nachla means Yerusha. The more is saying maybe it's not true. Maybe don't dash it means Nachla. Maybe it means that you call the kid on the name of the one who died.
And that could be Nachala.
No.
No, we won't get that.
Again, it says it doesn't say the pasuk. You see the highlighted. It doesn't say Yakum al Shem Nachla. It says Yakum al Shem Achiv.
Oh, just the shame.
What does it mean Yakum al Shem? Does it mean Nachla or does it mean the name?
Nice.
So the Gemara is suggesting maybe it doesn't mean the Nachla. I'm telling you it means the Nachla. Maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it means that you give the kid who's born the name of the deceased father, the deceased mother's husband who died. The brother, his father's brother who died. So maybe it means that if the father's name who died was Yosef, you call the kid Yosef. If his name was Yochanan, you call him Yochanan. No, it doesn't mean that. There's a Gzer Shav here to say, what does it mean? Al Shem Achiv. Over there it says Al Shem Achihem. Over there it says Nachal Asam. Over there it's talking about Ephraim and Menashe. They get this special portion, and those that are born afterwards, Al Shem Achihem Yikaru B'Nachal Asam. They're not going to be a separate Shem, but only Ephraim and Menashe. Anyway, it says over there Nachala. Shem Omol Nachala. Nachala Shem Omol Kam Nachala. Gzer Shav to say that the word Shem Achiv does not mean a name; it means Nachala. So here, what does it mean when it says Yakum al Shem Achiv? It means that the Yavam gets the Yerusha of the dead brother. What's the matter?
In other words, we don't go with the name. We just go with the Nachla. We go to
right. The pasuk is not saying that you call the child born the name of the deceased man. It means that you give the Nachla of the deceased man to the brother that's doing yibum.
I mean, why knock off the name idea? It's a good idea. Why?
So Chaim David saying, still keep it the Pashup Shot. So we're going to see soon. The Gemara is going to say, you don't go to the Pashup Shot over here. The pasuk also says, that the name of the deceased man should not be erased. But if the dead man was a saris, he was not able to have children, then there's no mitzvah of yibum, because anyway he was not going to have children. The mitzvah of yibum was only if the dead man was able to have children. If he wasn't able to, there's no mitzvah of yibum. So we dash in the whole pasuk, not the Pashup Shot. The Pashup Shot is altogether different, but the Gemara dash in, the last one could be Pashup Shot, but if he's already machui, if he's already erased because he can't have children anyway, so then there's no mitzvah of yibum. But the beginning of the pasuk, we mamish did a surgery. That it doesn't mean the child that's born is called for his father, but it means that the firstborn brother should do yibum only to a woman that could have children, and he gets the nachla of his brother. Amar Rava. This is what Chaim David wanted to know. Amar Rava, Afagav, the B'chol Torah Kula, Ein Mikyotzim De Pshuto, even though the whole Torah, the Pashat Pshat remains, even though you have a drasha, but the drasha is also true, but the Pashat Pshat is also true. But Hacha, Asay Gzer Shava, Pikte Mepashte Legambe. But over here, the drasha that says that we're talking about nachla, that the brother, the Yavam, gets the nachla of the dead man, that uproots the Pashat Pshat completely, and there's no mitzvah to call the child on the name of the deceased father. There's no such mitzvah. Apikte mipashte legamre, and there's no halacha that you should call the child by the name. The Gemara says, "V'ilav gzer shava have amena shem shem amish." The Gemara is even considering how could you even say the Pashup Pshat means to call the child on his father's name, on the father's name. Leman kamazer rachmana. To who is the Torah talking? The Yavam. Yakam al Shem Achicha miboile. It shouldn't say Achiv in the third person. It should have said on the brother, not Achiv Hames, but Achicha Hames. If you're talking about the child, the Pashva will be Vaya B'chor Shetele, the child. Yakum al Shem Achiv Hames. So his brother. Whose brother? It's not the child's brother. It's the child's father's brother. If it's talking about to the Yavam, we didn't talk about it until now. We spoke of the subject of this pasuk was about the child, not about the brother. So if it's talking about this the brother, it should say Al Shem Achicha, not Al Shem Achiv. It's talking to the Yavam. And either Beidina Yakum, if it's talking to the Bezdin, Yakum Al Shem Achiyav everybody. If it's talking to the Bezdin, what they should do, it doesn't mean that the child should be called by his father's name. It's his father's brother's name. Who's the child? The child is the child of the Yavam. And he should get the name of his father's brother's name. So the pasuk doesn't make sense to read it that it's talking about getting the father's brother's name. It doesn't say that. The Gemara says, how does it read that? I skipped something. Maybe the pasuk would have meant like this. If you want to say the pasuk shat would mean that he should get the name, the Bezdin tells the Torah tells the Bezdin, that you could fit into the pasuk B'dochak, you could say that Hashem's talking to the Bezdin to tell the brother that he should call the name of his child after his brother. That's how we could have said the pshat. But now the Gzeir Shava comes and says it's not true. There's no mitzvah to call the child on the brother's name. There's no such mitzvah anymore. So that's what comes out that there's no such mitzvah. The pasuk pshat here is deleted completely, and there's no mitzvah to call the child on the name of his deceased man who and his brother, his father's brother. There's no such mitzvah. The mitzvah is just saying that the yavam gets the nachla of the deceased brother. The Gemara is now going to ask a few questions about how to darshan. We said that I'll try to highlight it. I did it before. Try to do it again. Ema b'chor liyabim, pashat lo liyabim. Maybe only a b'chor. We said that it means the oldest brother. We said that Rush means that mitzvah b'gadol liyabim. The pasuk that says b'chor, it doesn't mean the child that's born. It means the oldest of the brothers does yibum. Maybe not. Maybe it means b'chor. B'chor means the firstborn. Maybe it's only a mitzvah to do yibum if the firstborn is available. If not, a pashat lo liyabim. There's no mitzvah yibum for someone who's not the firstborn. If one of the brothers dies and the firstborn is available to do yibum, then there's a mitzvah yibum. But if there's no firstborn, maybe there's no din of yibum at all. The Gemara says no, it can't be. The pasuk talks about that there's no mitzvah of yibum if a brother was not in the same world as the deceased brother. If the mitzvah only be on the firstborn, he's not a firstborn. He's at least a secondborn. So that can't be. It has to be that there's a mitzvah of yibum even not to a firstborn, like the case would be that if he would have been a younger brother, but he would have been in the same world. There's a mitzvah of yibum. Ravach has the kasha. Maybe it is coming to talk that the reason why he has to, we can put this in parentheses if we want. This is a side point. That maybe when the Torah says that Eish Shachar Shelo Ba'olam was not a parsha of Yibum, it's talking about a firstborn from the mother. Means as far as Yibum, there's we'll say that maybe the mitzvah of Yibum is only from a firstborn. But you might have thought that Eish Shachar Shelo Ba'olam in a case where it would have been a firstborn. How could it be a firstborn if he was born after the first brother? The first brother died, the older brother died, and he was born in the same world, not born in the same world. He obviously was born afterwards. Maybe it's talking about a firstborn to the mother. The Gemara says, no, that's not a tzad. You can't have a tzad to say that the firstborn of the mother would be the point that we would have thought that when the pasuk says that the firstborn does yibum, that it means the firstborn of the mother. The whole issue of yibum goes together with nachla, like we just said. He's the one who gets the nachla. So surely it has to be the firstborn of the father. The firstborn of the mother is not relevant to be being called the firstborn. So that's not a tzad. So the Gemara proves from the fact that the pasuk has to say that Eish Shachar Shelo Ba'olam doesn't do yibum, that it's not the firstborn. And the Gemara accepts that it doesn't mean the firstborn. Again, the first pshat of the pasuk means the firstborn, the child that's born. Now we said no, it doesn't mean that. Forget about that. It doesn't mean that. It means the firstborn of the brothers. But it doesn't mean the firstborn. It means the oldest. It doesn't mean after the firstborn. It means mitzvah b'gadol liyabim, the oldest, but not the firstborn. You don't need a firstborn of those that are left. Those brothers that are the oldest one, but not after the firstborn, because we see the Eish Shachar Shelo Ba'olam that it wasn't the firstborn.
That was his prichis.
That was the kasha. That was a terrace. The kasha was
Why the second one? It's just a detail within the firstborn.
we're trying to figure out what the word Bukhar means. We said we said that it means the firstborn brother. Doesn't mean the firstborn. It means the oldest. Maybe it means the firstborn literally. It can't be.
It's not a side point. It's a weaker halacha that we should know.
Good. Yeah, I'm not.
Why you put in parentheses.
No, that was a side point. That the Gemara proved that it can't be the firstborn because then you wouldn't need a pasuk to say that Eish Zachav Shaloi Ba'olamo doesn't do Yibam. Of course he doesn't. He's not the firstborn. So Avachai tried to put a side point to say, no, I can say that is a firstborn of the mother. That the Gemara says, no, that's not a tzad. There's no such thing as firstborn of the mother doesn't count. So back to the regular firstborn of the father. And you see that if he's a Eish Zachav Shaloi Ba'olamo, or Kenoy Ba'olamo, Lohya Ba'olamo, he wasn't the firstborn. So that means that you don't need the firstborn, but you do need the oldest. The next kasha, Ema.
All the times he learned up to now, we can sort of put that down as an ikar.
We didn't talk about Yibum until now. We just talked about 15 arais. The Sechta started the whole from the back case. It didn't talk about the basics. It talked about all complicated cases. People are related to brothers, to sisters, all kinds of complications. Now it's going back to the basics. That the pasuk that says by Yibum, it doesn't mean the child is the firstborn. It means the brother. It doesn't mean the firstborn. It means the oldest. The Ema. Ki ika bechor tiskayim mitzvah yibum ki laka bechor lo tiskayim mitzvah yibum. You're right. You proved that the mitzvah yibum is not only. Okay, I can't get the whole thing over here. Okay, that doesn't mean that after the firstborn does yibum that he did prove successfully. But maybe only if there's a firstborn, then there's a mitzvah yibum even for the other brothers. But if there's no firstborn, there was no firstborn, so maybe there's no mitzvah yibum to the other brothers either. Maybe only if there is a firstborn.
There's a daughter born.
If there's a firstborn available, so then the other ones could do it also. But if there's no firstborn available, maybe there's no mitzvah of yibum. Amakra umeis achad mehem milo askinan the mes bechor v'amrachmana liyabim katan. I'll prove to you that there is not, even if there's no bechor, even if the one who died is the firstborn, also there's a mitzvah of yibum, even if there is no firstborn because he died already. Because the pasuk talks about that there was two brothers, one of the two brothers died, and anyone that died, so even if the Bukhar died, and only the remaining one is only going to be not the firstborn, and there is no Bukhar anymore because he died, also there's a mitzvah for the younger brother to do Yibam. So you see that it's not only when there's a Yavam, when a Bukhar available. Again, the Gemara already rejected that it doesn't have to be after the firstborn. But now the Gemara is asking, maybe if the firstborn is not there, then there's no mitzvah of Yibam to anybody. Only if there's a firstborn available, then there's a mitzvah of Yibam for anybody. The Gemara says no, because the miskatan the Gemara is saying even if the pasuk says that one of them died, maybe it's only talking about that the younger brother died. But if the older brother would have died, then there's no mitzvah of yibum still. The Gemara says no, because in the case where there's two brothers and one of them died, you have to have a special pasuk to say that that was born after the death, that he doesn't do yibum. Mashma, if he would have been born before the death, he would do yibum, even though he's not the oldest. So this kasha is also off, that there's a mitzvah of yibum even if there is no firstborn. Next kasha. Maybe the fact that the Mishnah says that even if there's if the younger son shouldn't have done, the shouldn't have done, but if he did, it counts. He could. Maybe not. Only this halacha that a katan, if the younger brother, if he did yibum, it works. To do it even if they want to, or even if they preceded him. There's a pasuk on a drash level to say that all the brothers are the same. There's no difference between the oldest and the youngest. All of them could do yibum. It's true. The chatchila we give the oldest one. It's true we give the chatchila. The Gemara thought that maybe if there's no bechor, so then even if the younger one would do yibum, it counts. Like our Mishnah says, but if there's a bechor, then he's the only one who could do it, and nobody else could do it. And if they did, it's not considered a yibum. So the Gemara says, no, there's a pasuk of smashment, all the brothers are together. It's a drash, I think, because the pasuk is going on the dead brother and the live brother. That's the pasuk shot. But the Gemara is mentioning that all the brothers are the same, all the surviving brothers are the same, and they all can do yibum. There's a mitzvah to do to the oldest one to do first. The first choice is to him, but not that if the other ones did it, it's not good. Next kasha, ve'ema kika bechor leheder agadol ki leka bechor ein chozun eitzel gadol.
Ema always gives the kasha.
It's always a kasha. Say. Let me say this means all these things are not true. The Gemara is going to say Drush, each one is not true. Attacking this that we spoke about, this pasuk bechor, this pasuk vaya bechor. So we're asking first, maybe it means only the firstborn. Maybe it means only the firstborn, at least in the story over here. And maybe if there's a firstborn, that he's the only one who can do it. If there is a firstborn, he's the one who does it only. And now the Gemara is saying maybe the halacha that it says, what do you do with the ibum? They have many brothers. So first it says you go to the oldest, and if not, you go to the next one, the next one, the next one. And if nobody wants to do, you go back to the first one and you say either do chalitza or ibum. It goes back to you again. But the Gemara says maybe that's only when Maybe that's not true. Maybe only if there's a firstborn. Maybe it still is a chashivas to a firstborn. We're saying the word bechor. It says bechor, and we're canceling the whole word bechor. It doesn't mean bechor. It means the oldest. It doesn't mean the firstborn. It can be the oldest, not the firstborn. But the Gemara is saying maybe something special about a firstborn. Maybe the halacha that you have to go back to him. The mitzvah is on him, and if nobody else wants to do it, you go back to him and give him the ultimatum, either to do yibum or chalitza. Maybe it's only if he's a bechor. But if there's no bechor, then the gadol is nothing special that he is put dafka to him. He has to do. But the halacha is like that. The halacha is that you go in order. You ask the oldest one, do you want to do yibum? And he says no. You go to the second one. Do you want to do? Till you do all of them, and then you go back to the first one and says you have to do something. Either yibum or chalitza. Who says maybe it's only when there's a firstborn? The firstborn, he's the one who has that chashivas. But Stama Gadol doesn't have that. Allah matani abai kshisha. How come abai kshisha? Kshisha means old. The old abai. I'm not sure why it's not the regular abai. How come he said over abaisa? Allah matani abai kshisha. Why did abai kshisha say over abaisa? Mitzvah b'gadol liyabe. Lo rat solchem etzel lachiv hakotan. Lo rat zechozun etzel gadol. It says that the mitzvah is for the oldest one to do yibum. If he doesn't want, you go to the next one, to the next one, to the next one. And if nobody wants, you go back to the oldest one. Maybe not. Maybe only by a bechor. How come you're saying that also applies to the gedolim? The Gemara answers, since we're saying that there is a din of gadol, we said that the word bechor we proved before that doesn't mean dafka bechor. It can mean the oldest one also. So once it means that has the same din as the bechor, just like a bechor, we would say that he goes back to him. So too, the oldest one now becomes in place of the bechor, and also it turns to him. If no one else wants to do it, you go back to him and he gives an ultimatum, either bechor, either yibum or chalitza. The last kasha now, the ema. It's true that the pasuk says that one of those yibum gets the yerusha of the dead brother. Maybe only if he's a bechor. Means the Gemara is trying again and again maybe something special about a bechor, because that does say the word bechor. The way the Gemara is coming out, bechor is nothing. It just means the oldest. It has nothing to do if he's the firstborn or not. So that's the Gemara is asking. Maybe one last try. Maybe the halacha that the yavam gets the yerusha of the dead man is only if he's a firstborn. But if he's a pashut, he's not the bechor, he's another one of the brothers, maybe he doesn't get a yerusha. The pasuk that says that he gets a nachla, it says in order that he's the one who is coming in his place, and he took his place. Since he took his place, it doesn't make a difference if he's a yavam within the bechor. It doesn't say any condition about being a bechor over there. The one who takes the place of the brother is going to get the nachla. So we went through all these possibilities, and we didn't find anything that there's something unique about being a firstborn. So why does it say firstborn? Right. It should have said gadol. No, that we took care. We said mikri yosim de pshuta. That we took care already. We said this is an exception. Mikri yosim de pshuta. There's no mitzvah to call the child the bechor here is a first. The pshuta here doesn't mean the firstborn, the brother at all. The pshuta means the child. The pashup pshat here means the child that's born is going to be named after the father. But say that as pashup pshat and then say we don't do like that at all. Allah l'mais, we don't do the pashup pshat. We just do the drash, and it means that the oldest of the brothers is the one who does yibum. But now the Gemara is asking, why does it say the word bechor? You're saying it doesn't mean the firstborn; it means the oldest. It has nothing to do with being the firstborn. So there's no reason why the pasuk says the firstborn. It should have said agadol. Agadol, the oldest of the brothers. Why does it say bechor? But it says it should have said that. It says before. That's the Mor's kasha. It's coming to downgrade something. What is that? In the nachla. There's a concept about the state that is yashining. So there's something called muksuk and something called roi. But muksuk means that it's in the control of the one that died. Somebody died, so he has things that are his estate, and there are things that are roi, means it's coming to him. Someone owes him money, he has an investment, whatever, things that are coming to him, but it's not his yet. So the Yoshim get that also. How about the din of Pishnaim? The Bechor is supposed to get a double portion. Does he get the double portion of the Ra'ui? No, he only gets a double portion of what's available assets. But if something is coming, has to be collected, he doesn't have a right to get a double portion of that. There everyone's equal. Again, there's a Bechor. There is a Bechor. There's a Bechor. He's a Bechor. He's a firstborn. He gets 2 portions. There are 4 brothers. The oldest one gets 2. So you divide into 5 parts, and the firstborn gets 2 portions. But that's only divided into 5 parts, the things that are available assets. That's why divided into an extra portion, and the firstborn gets 2. But the ones that are not available, you just divide it into 4 portions, and he gets a regular portion like anybody else. Whatever came in after the death that was not available at the time, even though it belongs to the father and it's supposed to come to the father, but the firstborn doesn't have a right to get Pishnaim. He doesn't get double of that. That's good? Right. Now the Gemara is saying that the same thing applies to the Yavam. The Yavam also, that he gets the Yerusha, he only gets the Yerusha that's available. The dead brother, when he died, there's an available asset that he has, then that goes to the Yavam. But if it's something else that comes in afterwards, something that was right to come, so there's no din that the Yavam gets it, then the brothers split it equally. If all that's good, so what we have the Mishnah, Mitzvah B'Gadol Yabim, the Mitzvah L'Chatchila is that the oldest of the brothers available should do Yibum, but if a younger brother preceded him, it takes effect. It's a good Yibum, but L'Chatchila we go to the oldest, not the firstborn, the oldest. And the Gemara went to the old Russia that we learned it out from. We got some more facts on the way, Prat Islanders, Prat Lasaris, and also that he Yarshins, and he's one against the Yerusha, and we came out, there's nothing special about the Bechor. There's no Bechor, just the oldest, and the last thing the Gemara said is that he gets the Yerusha, but only of the available assets, not of something which is worthy to come. Next Mishnah. Hanita, this doesn't have to do with Yevamos too much. I didn't yet figure out what it has to do with Yevamos. If anybody has a shot. Hanita ala shifcha, finish tachrira, ala goya, finish gaira, hareza lichnos. Somebody was suspected of having relations with a shifcha knanis. He's a regular Jew, and there's a rumor going around that he had relations with a shifcha. And then she eventually got freed, and now it's mutter to marry her. He wants to marry her. He shouldn't marry her. Or there was a rumor going around that he had relations with a Goya, and now she became a convert, and he could marry her now. Also, he shouldn't marry her. Why not? Because it's going to enforce the rumor. There's a rumor going around that he had relations before she became a convert as a Goya, and now that he's going to marry her, it's going to strengthen the rumor. So don't marry her. Find somebody else. But if he did marry her, you don't force him to divorce her because there's no reason. It's mutter. Even if he did have relations with her before as a Goya, it doesn't make her Rasa. He did Avera, but doesn't make that she's Rasa to marry. So Chatchila don't marry her in order not to strengthen the rumor. And if he did, you don't make her divorce. But Hanitan ala Ish, if somebody was suspect that he committed adultery with a married woman, and they made that husband divorce her because if his wife had relations with out of marriage, so then she's Asa to him. So then she's also Asa to the Boel. When a woman commits adultery in marriage, that she marries a man, she has relations with a man out of the marriage, so she's also to the husband, just get divorced. That's what a sota is all about. Over there, she claims that she didn't, so that Hashem gives her a chance and proves her innocence if she didn't. But if it's a fact that she had relations out of marriage, she's also to her husband. He has to get divorced. And also, she's also to what? Yeah, that's right. Talking about it's not honest. And also, she's also to the one to the adulterer. She's also to the man that she had relations with. So here, Af Pishakonas Yotzi, even if he married her, but also surely we tell him not to marry her, but even if he did, we make her divorce because it's not only a question of a laws, of a rumor here, it's a question more that she's also to him. She's also to him because if they had relations out of marriage, so then he had relations with the Aishas, she's also to marry him. So 2 parts of the Mishnah. The beginning is about a Shifcha and a Goya, the end is about a Aishas. Back to the beginning of the Mishnah, we're talking about the Goya. This is going to be this issue over here about it says in the Mishnah that a Goya, that he had relations with a Goya and she became a convert, so he shouldn't marry her, but b'diavad it's a good marriage. But the Gemara says, what are you talking about? That the conversion is a good conversion, even though it seems that she converted because she wanted to marry him. There was a rumor, we're cautious for this rumor, that the reason why that they had relations while she was a Goy, and she converted. Now he wants to marry her. We say don't marry, but it's mashma, she can marry somebody else. She's Jewish. Why is she Jewish? They don't give And the Nehemiah says if somebody converted for an ulterior motive, it's not a good conversion. It's not if a man married because he wanted to marry a woman converted because she wanted to marry a man, or somebody converted because Am Yisrael's having it good. Shulchan Malachim, that there's the king's table means Am Yisrael is very rich and it's better to be a Jew, or he wants to come to Israel because he doesn't want to be in the Ukraine, so he says he's Jewish. All kinds of reasons why we see ulterior motives why somebody wants to become a ger, or Avdei Shlomo, that Am Yisrael was in the good times over there, that they were powerful. Avdei Shlomo, he wants to become part of the strong party. So so this woman that she seemed to have converted because she wanted to marry the man, it shouldn't be a good conversion. Not only shouldn't marry her, nobody should marry her. She's not Jewish. That people who became gerim because of lions, like the story over there by the Kusin, since they were being torn apart by lions, they became Jewish, or they had a dream that said become Jewish, and the dream was forcing them to become Jewish, or in the times of Mordechai Esther, they were scared. Like it says, what does it mean, Misyahadim? To become Yehudim. They were becoming Jews because they were scared of to be a goy. At that time, Mordechai Esther, at the end of the story of Megillah Esther, it wasn't good to be a goy. It was good to be Jewish. So if they did it for ulterior motive, they're not gerim. Actually, it's gerim bisman hazeh. Only if they become gerim at this time. The Gemara, by the way, says, what does it mean this time? Bisman hazeh, after this time. It means a similar time, which is now, which is when Am Yisrael is down. When Am Yisrael is down and somebody becomes a ger, then he's doing it l'shem shemayim. But when Am Yisrael is up and it's good to be a Jew, it's not good. It's always good to be a Jew, but it's going to be profitable to be a Jew. Some side ulterior motive, then it's not a good gerus. So that's the kasha. Now Mishnah smash, but the whole problem is that this woman, she can't marry him, the person she was suspect they were having relations before. But she could marry everybody else. She's Jewish. Why is she Jewish? It seems that she converted for ulterior motive. That's the more kasha. The more answer is we don't pass like that. We pass that even if they did it for a ulterior motive, it's still a good gerus. We try to avoid it. And we interrogate them. If we see that they're doing the ulterior motive, we turn them away. But if they did become gerim, so then it is a good gerus.
We see that in modern day examples. The people who are rich going out chicks, and then she says, "Okay, I'll do it."
So we shouldn't really accept them. Really, we shouldn't accept it. It does talks about b'diavad. We're talking about what? So here it says you're not supposed to, but b'diavad, the machlokes if b'diavad is a good gerus. Even b'diavad is not a good gerus, but we don't pass like that. We pass like Rav that b'diavad it is a good conversion. So this Mishnah goes according to the halacha that b'diavad it is a good conversion. So then the Gemara, we knew it already. Rashi told us, but how come lachatchila we say don't marry her if it's a good conversion? Why can't they marry her? It's true. Maybe he had relations before, but he can marry her now. The Gemara says no because it's reinforcing the rumor. Take away that nobody should be spreading rumors about you. It seems the case is here that he's saying that he did not have relations. So if he says he didn't have relations, don't marry her because that's going to give people the impression that you did. I'm not sure what the halacha would be if he says he did. If it becomes evident that he did, but now he wants to marry her. So I'm not sure. The Gemara seems to say the only reason
that he should say that he did have a relationship.
I'm not sure if it's better, but if here it says the reason why you should not marry her is because it's reinforcing the rumor. It's a bad rumor. Take away the bad talk about you. Maybe I don't know what it means. Maybe I don't know. I didn't look into the sugya at all. I didn't look into that poskim, but the Gemara says the reason why you should not marry her is because it's going to reinforce the bad rumor. And maybe even if it is true, he shouldn't make it strong. He should forget about it and start new, get married somebody else. But that's the Gemara. Tanu Rabbanan. Once we mentioned this, we're bringing a side point about accepting game. Tanu Rabbanan. Olazus fasayim. People are saying bad things about you. It's a pasuk in Mishnah. Tanu Rabbanan. Elu kabun game li'masa Mashiach. That they're not going to accept. When Mashiach comes, no more gerim. Too late because then times are going to be good. It's profitable.
I'm sorry. What happened to the pasuk? Asar mimcha. I didn't get that. Something
like that. Take away from yourself the crookedness of the mouth. Means that people shouldn't talk about you. And that's the pasuk also. Let's get the end of the pasuk.
Oh, that's
lezus sefasayim. Like
lezus is what?
Mishlei Perek 4. So lezus they say is like crooked lips. Means don't let people talk about you. Distance crooked lips from talking about you. both are ikshus and lazus, both of them mean like ikum, like akum, to crookedness. So don't let people talk about you. Don't do something that'll cause people to talk about you. So here they're talking about him that he had relations with the goya. Don't reinforce it. So don't marry her. Marry somebody else. If she became a convert, she can marry somebody else. The we shouldn't have let her convert because she's just doing it for an ulterior motive. But if she did, she's a good convert. But she should marry somebody else. Should marry him because it's strengthening the rumor. We're not going to accept Gabriel when Mashiach comes because they're doing it for ulterior motive. Also, in days of David and Shlomo, when it was good times for Am Yisrael, also we didn't accept Gabriel. Only when it's not, when Am Yisrael is down, then we see that they have pure motivations. Amr Abulazar, my crow, where's the remnants in the pasuk? Hein go yagor efes meosi migori toch Allah hipo. Pasuk in Yeshaya, the word is mentioning Hein go yagor efes meosi. It's a hard rash over here. Maybe it's in the pasuk shot. It's hard also. How does it go? Hein go yagor. Somebody that wants to convert efes meosi is when I'm not with you. Like when Hashem says, when I'm not with you, then somebody could be Megaya. But migori toch. Not but. Whoever lived with you means in your problem days, then he could come to, then he could live with you. Allah is going to be a Nuach. Rashi says Yipol means a Nuach la'olam haba. So only the Gerim that came to be with us in the times that we were down, those are the ones who are zochah to be with us in the future. But if they only come when it's good for us, then we don't accept them.
Gary Itach in the difficult.
We go in the difficult times, then Allah Hipol.
Where do you know that?
Efes meosi, that Hashem says I'm not there. Go yagur efes meosi. Those who want to be Megaya is when I'm not there, when I'm not together with you, when I'm not with you.
It's difficult.
Next Gemara. So the Mishnah says that the beginning is talking about a Goya, a Shifcha, but then it talks about Ishasish, that if somebody was suspect that he had relations with Ishasish, so then he shouldn't marry her, and even if he did, he should divorce her.
Right.
So Rav says that this halacha that he has to divorce her is only if there were witnesses that he was mazana. That's almost a fact, not a rumor. It's a fact. There are Eidim that he was mazana, and then even if he married her, he should divorce her. The Gemara is going to ask conscious on that, but that's what Rav said. Rav Sheshes, that can't be. Rav must have been sleeping when he said that. So this is really, the Chafetz Chaim says this is a way of compliment. It's not a way of, he says because Rav couldn't have said that. He must have been trembling. It couldn't have been because it's not true. Because of the price against it. The Tanya, Nitan Leishas Ish, Osiyu al Yidei al Yodo, V'nizgar Hashem Yitachas Yidei Acher, in Konas Lo Yotzi. The price says that if somebody was suspect of having relations with a married woman,
What's in 9? Sorry.
one,
What's the
9 was sleeping. It says in the price that if somebody was suspect of having relations with a married woman and they forced him to divorce her, Osiyu al Yodo, because of that, they forced the husband to divorce her. V'nizgar Hashem Yitachas Yidei Acher. And then she got divorced from somebody else. Means after she was divorced from the first husband, she married somebody else, and then she got divorced from him also. Now, im konas lo yotzi. If the original one who was suspected married her, then he doesn't have to divorce her. Lo yotzi. We're saying that even though we say that im konas yotzi, that a person who was suspect, the suspect adulterer, we say that even if he married her, he should divorce her. By Yeshasish, but here it says that if somebody married in between, then we see that the suspicion is not so strong. She married somebody else, she didn't marry him. So then he also shouldn't marry her, but if he did, lo yotzi, he doesn't have to divorce her. What's the case talking about? Were there Edom or no Edom? What do you say?
If they're out, then he's Chayav Misa.
If they're Edom, then he surely cannot be with her because he's also to have relations with Boa. What's the case? If they're Edom, that Mamish we know for a fact that she was Muzana with him, then it doesn't make a difference, even if she married somebody else in between and stop the rumor, because now they said you see that she married somebody else. What's the difference? We know for a fact that she was Muzana with him and he can't take her. And it's much talking about this case is the one that there were no witnesses. It's not a fact, it's only a rumor. And still it says only because she married somebody else in between, that's why we don't make him divorce her. Only when somebody else came in between and married her, then we see that the suspicion is not so big, and therefore, if he married her, he could keep her. But if not for that, we do make him take out his wife because even though there's no Edom. So this is Rav Shesh's discussion on Rav. How could you say that the halacha that you force him to divorce her is only if there are Eidim that they were Mazana, this Bryce is for sure talking about even if there were no Eidim, and it still says that seems like you make him divorce only if there was another marriage in between. So Mar says, no, it's not such a kasha. Rav can answer it. You're right. There's still more without Eidim. If they're Eidim, surely has to divorce her, even if somebody else married in between. He's still more without Eidim. And you're right, that even if there wouldn't be somebody else married in between, since there are no Eidim, I'm saying that you don't force him. If somebody, there was only a rumor, no fact. There was only a rumor that that he had relations with this married woman, and he married her afterwards. We don't make him divorce her since it's only a rumor. The Bryce is mashma only if somebody else married her in between. Without Eidim, we're not going to make him a divorcer. The Bryce is meant to say the other way. It's not going on to be the B'diavad, even if there was nobody else married in between. Also, if he married her, we tell him don't marry her. But if he married her, you don't have to divorce her. The Chiddush of the Bryce is coming to say that even if somebody else married her in between, still we say lachatchila don't marry her. And the lachatchila, we're coming to say achum in the lachatchila. Again, somebody was suspect that a rumor goes out that he had relations with a married woman. He's not allowed to marry. He shouldn't marry her. Somebody else married her and divorced her. Could he marry her now? That's a chiddush to say no, you shouldn't marry her, even though it doesn't look so suspicious because she married somebody else. But still, lachatchila don't marry her. So that's why the Bryce says the case of somebody else in between to say that lachatchila he still shouldn't marry her. But as far as the B'diavad goes, if he did marry her, lo yotzis, even if there's no Eidim. So he got out of the kasha. Yif Shesha said he had a strong kasha, but the Gemara got out of the kasha. But now the Gemara does have a kasha. There's no terms to this kasha. Meismei, Med V'Amamurim Kshein Labanim, Aval Yesh Labanim Lo Seitzei. This halacha that we said that if the adulterer, the Suffolk adulterer, the rumor, if he married, he should divorce her because we don't want this suspicion over here. But that's only if she doesn't have children from who? From the first husband. What's the point over here? If there are children from the first husband, so then if we make a serious move, we react very seriously to the chashash that she was mizana. It's motzi laws on the children. Means the first husband has children, and as far as we know, it's from this woman, and then she was mizana. Now people start thinking maybe the children are not maybe the children are mamzerim. Who knows that he was born? They were born from this wife. Maybe she was mazana, and the child is a product of the other husband. So we're more concerned not to strengthen the rumor if it's going to be on the cheshbon of the children. So here it says, when do we say that we force the adulterer, the Suffolk adulterer? Let's say Suffolk. Let's say the truth. Suffolk adulterer, we tell him not to marry her, and if he does, he should divorce her. Only if there are no children from the first husband, because that doesn't affect anybody. But if she has children from the first husband, and by forcing the Suffolk adulterer to divorce her, even if he married her, it's going to strengthen the rumor. And if people are going to say, that she was a real being, she was Mazana for sure, and the children from the first husband will be a Suffolk Mamzeh, and people will talk about them and say maybe they're the result of the woman who had relations with an outsider. Then it says in the Bryce of Imbo, but if Mamish Edim come and say that she was Mazana, then we can't have Achmanas on the kids anymore because she's also to marry the adulterer. He's a Vadai adulterer. So she can't stay with him. Even if it's going to be a Motzi Alaz on the children of the first husband, and maybe they're not really his children, maybe they're Mamzer. We can't help them. What can we do? We can't let this woman to stay married to the adulterer Vada. So what does it say? It says openly in the Bryce that we're talking about without Eidim. That's what it says. If they're Eidim, then you make her get divorced. And the Reish is talking about that there are no Eidim. And still it says that you only don't tell her to get divorced only if there are children. But if there are no children, you do make her get divorced. So it's against Rav. Rav said that the only time that you make her get divorced is only if there are Eidim. If there are no Eidim, you don't make her get divorced. That's the Kashan Rav. But the Gemara says now, Rav Taka didn't mean to say that. Rav Mukilala Masnisim V'yesh Labanim V'yesh Eidim. Rav says you're right. If there are no children, then you make her get divorced even if there are no Eidim. But the Mishnah is talking about that there are children, and therefore, when it says Teitze, it's only if there are Eidim. The halach is good. The halach is that the Chatchili shouldn't marry this woman because there's a rumor about it. If he married her, we look, are the children to the first husband? If there are children, it's then we say don't divorce them. Because we don't want to make a rumor about the first children. But if there are Eidim, then even if there are children, we have to tell him you have to divorce it because you were a Bari Mazana, and therefore you can't stay with this woman. So who told Rav to say that? Again, the facts are all true. But why does Rav have to say on our Mishnah? Our Mishnah doesn't say if they're children or not. Our Mishnah says that Yotzi. What does our Mishnah say? And it says Yotzi. So say it's talking about that there are no children and no Eidim. Why does Rav have to say that the case is that there are Eidim, and he means when they are children? Even if there are no children, then it's Yotzi even without Eidim. So why does Rav have to say such a pshat? That's the Gemara's last kasha now. I mean, at least for today. The Gemara's kasha. Where are we holding? Here it is, top line. Why does Rav have to push the Mishnah to say it's there are children, and therefore Dafka the Eidim force him to get divorced? The time of Dika Eidim Afkina Bilek Eidim Lam Afkina Dafka if they're Eidim, look more b'sheim labanim, and Dafka the Leg Eidim. He could have said the Mishnah simple: there are no children, and you make him divorce even if there are no Eidim. Rav Mastis and Kishi say Rav had a dik in the Mishnah. My area the Tani Hotziuha. Listen, Hotzia. Hotzia means he divorced her. Hotzia means that they plural made her get divorced. Who's they? Kol Hotzia beBezdin. Bezdin is the one who forced him. Why did Bezdin? Well, Bezdin beidim udamafki. Bezdin only makes somebody to get divorced only if they were Eidim. If the only would have been a rumor, Bezdin wouldn't force him to have divorced his wife, the original one. So since the pasuk said, the Mishnah says Hotzia, must be talking about that Bezdin did it. Bezdin did it with Eidim. That's what Rav said. And Enechnami, the Mishnah only talking about that there are children. Since they're children to the first husband, if you're going to make this suspect divorce, it's going to strengthen the rumor that she was Mazana. There's going to be a call about the children. So if there are Eidim, we have nothing. We can't do anything about it. But if there are no Eidim, if there are no Eidim, then we wouldn't make the Suffolk adulterer divorcer if there are children. Oh, okay, Yashikar, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, as I mentioned before, that tomorrow I'm not sure if I'll be on time because I have an appointment by whatever. So I'll try to keep somebody updated what time I'll be here. And the second year, the film 11, I hope to be here for short by time. But the first year at 10 o'clock, I'm not sure if I'll be able to make it tomorrow. So there's supposed to be 10 o'clock. It's supposed to be a shir on Hilchos Pesach on Haggadah. We finished Hilchos Pesach today. So the Haggadah. And I'll try to be here for that, but I'm not sure if I can make it. But 11 o'clock, we hope to be here for that. Yashikar, everybody. Thank you. Yashikar, thank you. Thank you. Cultivate everybody.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yes, sure.
I was surprised that or forgive me, maybe you'll help me understand. When I ask about naming a son after the deceased father,
yes,
to be father, or potential father beforehand, why doesn't it bring the example of Boaz and Ruth, that they didn't name their children after the brothers? Is it because they were Rashayim, or it's just
I don't know. It's nice what you're saying, but over there it wasn't Mamash Yibum, right? There wasn't Mamash Yibum over there. Is that true? That it wasn't Mamash, right? It wasn't a brother of Machlam and Kilyon. So it was a spirit of Yibum, but it wasn't an exact Yibum, because Boaz was not a brother to Machlam and Kilyon. Does that answer the question?
I believe so.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Yashiko. Thank you. Have a good day, everyone.
So,
Okay. Thank you.
It was older than